going to bring up Sven. He's a DevOps advocate at Atlassian. So let's round of applause.
All right. Thank you so much. We have seen some sponsorship videos. So I will also start my talk with a little bit of a trailer video. So enjoy. All right, Doc Einstein, anyone here? Wow, let's do some time travel, right? Okay, who remembers that outfit and that logo kind of thing? Okay, a couple of you, great, great, great. I thought just like I'm out of time. Anyway, let's get things started here at CraftConf. So you just saw that there has been put a lot on the shoulders of developers recently, right? And yeah, so we just like shift left. We did all those things, right? And then now everyone is just like talking to us about just like, you should bring that productivity thing, right? We don't crank out as much features as we used to. I think just like, yeah, if you just like give us more tasks to do, just like do the operational side of things, test things ourselves, right? Of course, productivity will just like decrease. So how do we get back to productivity? And why is everyone actually so obsessed with productivity? So I don't wear this outfit just for fun, because I'm going to take you now on a little bit of a time travel. Unfortunately, I don't have a DeLorean with me, so we just like stay seated here and travel back together in time. Is that okay for you to travel back in time? Yeah? Let's see where this productivity obsession comes from, right? So I count to 3, and then we travel 125 years back in time. 1, 2, 3. All right. Whoa, that was fast, right? Great. Everyone came to the year 1898 here? Great. So in the year 1898, the Bethlehem Steel Factory, they had some productivity issues. But at that time, there was actually no McKinsey or the Boston Consulting Group with a lot of consultants coming in and fixing all the productivity issues. You couldn't call them at that time. They didn't exist. So what the Bethlehem Steel Factory owners did, they hired one guy to fix their productivity issues. You might have heard of him, right? His name is Frederick Winslow Taylor, famous for his Taylorism. So Frederick Winslow Taylor did the following. He watched the workers. So he just like looked at what are the workers doing, right? He put out his stopwatch and just like stopwatched everything, just how much they could shuffle, right? So what he found out that when he just like saw the workers shuffling, that there was a lot of extra work because a lot of coal was just like falling left and right from the shuffle. So what he did, he gave the workers custom-made shuffles. So they could actually shuffle more. So more coal fit on the shuffle, not as much for left and right. Productivity increased, great. But not only that, he also just looked at how much the workers could actually carry throughout the day. And when he looked at that in the beginning of the day, obviously they could carry more than at the end of the day, right? They couldn't carry that much heavy things anymore. So what Frederick Winslow Taylor did actually was giving the workers more breaks. So they could recover a little bit and then carry more. And guess what? Productivity increased, right? Actually, he put it so far that productivity increased of the factory workers by 400%. This is great. This is awesome. But everything comes with a flip side, right? Everything comes with a flip side. So when you look at that, just like 400% increase, but the workers, they were just like doing now repetitive tasks. Everything was just like stopwatched, everything was just like timed pretty precisely, so the workers didn't have to think about anything. They should just follow the rules, right? And then he needed some people to just like set the rules. So he just like brought in more managers that could just like get the workers more productive and improve their productivity throughout when Frederick Winslow Taylor left. So this is the obsession with productivity, right? We are now looking also at software developers, right? How can we make them more productive? But guess what? It's 125 years ago. So let's travel back to the year 2023 and see how we are actually trying to improve the productivity of our software developers, right? So I promise you I'll bring you back, right? So we are back. Great. Whew, feels good. So developer productivity, how do we measure that? Actually, my first boss came in and said, Sven, can you please count the line of codes that you added in the last week so we can just like report that to management? And there's actually some companies that's actually doing this, but we all know this doesn't have to do anything with productivity, right? We can't do that by just like measuring the lines of code we added. That doesn't have to do anything with productivity. And then we just like said, okay, how much issues did we put to done in that week, right? But also that is just like a weak measurement of productivity because we could just like have smaller issues and bigger issues, more complicated stuff showing up. So not a good measurement. Okay, we're doing Scrum, so of course, yeah, we count the story points, right? But also there, story points are just an estimation how much we think we can do, right? It doesn't measure our productivity. Also, story points are a little bit complicated. Is it a 5 or a 3? So we just like came up with T-shirt sizes. Same stuff, right? Same stuff, T-shirt sizes. Doesn't really say how much productive we are. And now we just like have the DORA metrics like cycle time or deployment frequency, right? So but let's assume we have found a great metric. What are we doing with this metric? So now, actually, our managers say, right, okay, yeah, let's improve this, right? We need to have 10% more story points in the next iteration or 20% faster pull request reviews, right? And more pressure on the developers. And this is a little bit like human nature, right? We just like know what things are working and just repeating the history, right? We just like learn from Frederick Winslow Taylor that these things are working, we can produce more, and repeating that, but don't look at actually software development is a different craft than just like what the workers were doing in the steel factory. So thank you very much, Frederick Winslow Taylor. We still have some Taylorism left. But how can we get better, right? How can we, and we are good at that. So now we're saying, okay, let's call that developer experience, right? We need to improve the developer experience. And don't get me wrong, I really like the term developer experience, but there are already consultants out there that take this developer experience, put it in a framework, right? And then certify people that they are just like certified developer experience people and improve their developer experience. All these things are probably good and for the good, but we at Atlassian thought we just like going a different direction. And what we called is actually we need to go back to enjoy our craft, back to developer joy, right? So how do we look at these things? So we just like say, when do we actually enjoy our work? What is it when we enjoy our work, right? What is developer joy made of? So I enjoy my developer job when I actually work on great quality code that I really love to work with. I always think like, yeah, this is great code, I really love it. Then also just like progress, right? If things just like flow through the pipelines, if I have an idea on Monday morning, get it implemented on Wednesday, and Friday my customers are using it. Wow, this is really when things are flowing through the pipeline. And then also, we want to take pride in our work. So when our customer says, we love your tools, this is really when I enjoy the work. So when all three things come together, and I'm working for a great team, then I really enjoy enjoy the work. So let's take a look a little bit closer how great teams are actually changing the way they work, or just like adding some stuff to the way they work, and improving their developer joy. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the quality, right? Improving the quality. Assuming you have this great piece of software that everyone likes, and it's a shiny software, and everyone is using it and giving you great feedback and says, this is a great kind of software, right? And then your customer says, I love your software, but can you please change this tiny little thing? And you said, yeah, sure. You open your IDE and want to change something, and your code is a mess, right? Your code looks like super ugly, and you don't want to work with that. And guess what, right? This happens to nearly every team, and it's called technical debt, right? So we actually made some survey, and we just like asked how many people are actually dealing with technical debt. And so 40% of the time, of the developer time, is used for dealing with technical debt. This is the result, right? You now think like, okay, we need to get this number a little bit more down, right? But guess what? Just 10% of developer teams are actually manage their technical debt, right? Other things just like happen, and you just like change things here and there. So this is a little bit of a down spine, right? We just like, we don't fight technical debt. So true story here. Once I wrote this nice piece of code, not this code, but assume this is a nice piece of small little code, right? And then I wrote this, and I just like was super proud of it, and I checked it in, and I went on vacation, right? And other people also thought like, oh, this is a nice piece of code, and I have to add some functionality to it, right? And then I came back from vacation and just like wanted to look at my nice code again, right? So what happened actually to my nice code? It looked like this, right? People were adding stuff to it and more, you know. Sometimes things end up in a mess, right? And they didn't do it for just like a bad reason of just like, let's mess up Sven's code. No, right? They just like, they actually wanted to just like, they had no time actually. They had a lot of pressure putting out these features, and they saw the code, and they were just like adding stuff. So I know this doesn't happen to your company, right? Where you work. I know that, right? You have coding guidelines, and they would have caught this, right? You have coding guidelines, right? They caught this, right? Okay, good, great, just to see. Now, and then you must say, yes, yeah, well, by coding guidelines, your tool are checking this automatically. They're checking automatically your coding guidelines, right? You check your coding guidelines automatically, right? Is that, okay? Yeah, okay, just to be clear here, right? Okay, good. So the Bitbucket team they actually wrote down their coding guidelines, and they automated a whole bunch of things. And it's important that you do that you have a common ground as a team to just like say, this is our quality level as coders, right? And these are our guidelines for making great code, right? And some things can be, of course, automated. Some other things cannot be yet automated, like the single responsibility principle. Someone needs to see if this is really inside your code, if you implemented the single responsibility principle. So how do you check those things if there's not an AI doing this right now? Code reviews, right? You're doing code reviews, right? You're doing code reviews, right? Okay, yeah, every single line of code get checked in, get reviewed. Okay, great. So we're doing code reviews too, and let's assume I have added this pretty easy code, right, to a function, right? So that's like added this to this class, and then I put it on a pull request and get some comments on it. First comment is just like, what the fuck, Sven? That's not a nice thing. Okay. Then the next thing is, oh, your code looks ugly, and said, okay, stop it here, right? I don't really want to hear this thing. I don't want to do code reviews anymore, right? If you're such a jerk, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do code reviews. I hate code reviews, right? And then I say just like, well, but I want to know, like, why is this code ugly? Yeah, it would have been nicer if you used a for loop. Duh, right? Nicer. What does that mean, right? I don't know. So one thing, if you just do this comment, just one sentence here, don't be a jerk when you review code, right? Don't be a jerk. So actually, who has been bullied by a jerk in the last 1 month here? No, don't raise your hands, right? I know your coworkers are in the room, so that's fine. I know. Okay, all good, right? Just twinkle here with the eye. Okay, yeah, I see you. All right, good. So jerks are actually the reason why people hate code reviews, because you open yourself up. Your work is just like you open it to your coworkers. Of course, yeah, you open yourself up. So just like you as a reviewer, you're in this protected shell, and you can just like put things out. But you as an author on the other side, right? You're not, right? You're just like you are the one that are just like open yourself up and get your work out to your coworkers and want to get feedback. So be nice in your reviews, right? Assume competence, right? Your coworkers got hired for a reason. Assume they are competent. They know their stuff. Maybe you don't know everything. So this is the first thing. The second thing is just like be constructive, right, in your feedback, right? The code looks ugly. Duh. I've no idea what that means, right? So be constructive. And also explain the reasoning. Why, right? A for loop would be nicer. Tell me why. I want to learn, right? Because code reviews are there not only just like to make your code quality better, but also to learn, right? We want to learn from it, and we want to learn different places of the code that we normally don't work with, but we are pulled into reviews of this code, so we got to learn these things, right? So this means actually no bullying in code reviews, means just like more developer joy. All right. So let's assume your code reviews are done, you check your code in, and your test kick off, right? The test kicks off, and then you wait, and sometimes it happens, right? Test turn red. Red test. Okay, good. What are you doing? You just like look at the code. Why does the test fail? You look at it. You try to just like see why did it fail. You just like compare that to the failure message, and you can't really find a reasoning why this code fails. You debug everything. You're just like, I don't know why this failed. I have no idea. So what's the next step you're going to do? Yeah, I rerun the test, right? And guess what? Right, rerunning the test. Oh, it's green. Great. I'm done. Thank you very much. All right. We have seen some commercials. I have another commercial for you, and I'll be back after the break.
Is seeing red build after red build getting old? Is rerunning your failed jobs getting you down? Is waiting on those failed jobs to finish making you crazy? Deterministic reliability is here to help. With our handy-dandy flaky test monitoring system, we will, eventually, automatically bypass those flaky tests. For 4 easy payments of free, you too can save time, ship quality code faster, be more productive, feel so much better when you go to work every day. You will be happier, your team will be happier, you'll stop dying inside, you'll stop banging your head against your desk, you'll stop replacing computers that are in a rage against the wall. Sorry. It's just a little close to home. Call 1-800-Atlassian today to get your free flake monitoring system.
Actually, we don't have a tool out there as a flaky test detector, but a team built a flaky test detector actually also for other teams to implement that. So what does a flaky test detector do? You create a pull request, right? The build and test kicks off, and the test fails. So now the flaky test detector kicks in and says, OK, let's rerun the test and see, OK, the test passes. Yeah, we have just discovered a flaky test. Great. So next step is you're just like going to skip it automatically, so the test is going to be skipped, and then a comment is added to the pull request, but also you get a Slack message into your team group chat, and just like there that you have to do something with the code, right? Just like flaky test, we need to resolve that. So flaky test detector, pretty simple actually to build. Less debug frustration, right? We just like the flaky test detector kicks in and tells us it's a flaky test, and more developer joy. All right. So how do you start with great quality, right? What is great developer quality? You would just like said, OK, this is all very fluffy, Sven, right? How do we measure that? If you want to measure it, start with the DORA metrics, pretty much. If you don't know what to do, just like start with the DORA metrics and evolve from there, right? And also establish some baselines, right? So there is something. If you just like, you need to look at these metrics, not just measuring them. You need to also look at them. And if you hit just like a baseline, just like the thing turns red, right? let's say you have it on your wall board or dashboard or something, things turns red and you need to do something. Well, there is something like this wallboard here, and you see like, oh wow, there's a lot of red here, right? And you just start to ignoring this, right? It's just like I don't care. It's just like it's all red, and I will never fix that, right? There is a problem with the wallboard. And that's also what we faced. We had wallboards when we were in the office all over the place. Now they are just like the first page that you start. We had this problem too. So what we did is actually a weekly ritual called CheckOps, where the team sits together, looks at the metrics, see when we crashed a baseline, and then trying to just like take on actions, how to improve the metric again, so how bring it back, right? And sometimes it's okay that it turns red, right? It's okay. Maybe you're working on a complicated part of the code and things take longer, right? Okay. But you need to talk about it as a team, right? You need to talk about it as a team. All right. Next thing is just like improve your developer progress, right? We are just like done with quality. Now we are improving the developer progress. And me as a programmer, I love the time when I can dive deep into code, right, and think about the code. And I'm just like in the flow, right, in the development flow. And we all know this experience when we just like forget everything around us and we just like think in bits and bytes and syntax, right? So optimize that time, less meetings, of course, optimize that time. But there's more to the developer flow than just the coding phase, right? There's also the build and test phase, and then there's also the deployment phase. And we need to optimize those too, right? And you can optimize those things just like tests. Maybe you want to parallelize your tests and just like go from hours to minutes, or deployment. Yeah, sure. You can also optimize deployment time, just like not deploy the whole thing at once, just like deploy small services. All good, right? But there's one thing that is just like missing in this flow here, and that's this phase here, the review phase, right? And the review phase can actually take days. So how do we fix that, right? So one team actually at Atlassian was measuring. Actually, all teams are measuring their review phase. So we have an average of 3 days from opening a pull request to merge it back into the main branch, right? So this means actually 3 days of working on something else and then coming back after 3 days and reading all the comments and trying to remember what I did 3 days ago. Why did I do this? I don't know anymore. So the closer we can get actually to the implementation phase when I wrote the code, right, the better it is. So we need to shorten that time. So one team actually did the following, right? They have this or had this open pull request, right, with a few reviewers attached. And now they just like had the 3 days from opening the pull request to merging it back. So what actually the team lead did, Puneet Arora, he actually pinged every reviewer in the morning and says, hey, you know what? There's an open pull request and you're attached as a reviewer. Can you please come and review the pull request, right? So we want to move on. We want to move on with things. And guess what? The team were just like not wanted to review the pull request, but forgot about it, right? They got a notification somewhere in the middle of the day, and they forgot about it, that they are attached to this pull request. But now the first thing they did in the morning was, yeah, I'm gonna look at the pull request and just like I'm gonna review the code, right? So of course this is not a job for team leads. So what the team did, yeah, there's a bunch of automation in Developer Joy too. So they replaced Puneet with a bot called the Puneet bot, right? And now the Puneet bot is actually pinging everyone with an open pull request in the team in the morning. And guess what? They got down from 3 days to 1.2 days. Not only by the Puneet bot, they also changed the way they work. So they made the pull requests or their code changes smaller, so you have less to review. So it's not that complicated thing that you have to review. So they cut down their review time, which means less wait time for developers. And you guess what? More developer joy, right? I'm obsessed with flow, right? And not just like the developer flow, like I'm obsessed with how work flows through our systems. And I often compare this with traffic junctions, where you also have flow of cars, right? So here's a traffic junction with no rules. So everyone can just go haywire with that. It's a little bit like the cowboy traffic junction, right? Everyone can just like, so in this simulation, actually 191 vehicles can pass the traffic junction, right, per minute. Good. Okay, totally chaos is probably not the way we want to work, right? It's maybe good if we are just like maybe in startup mode, but let's add some more processes to the mix, right? Let's actually add some heavy processes to the mix. So we add traffic lights to the traffic junction. So work stops until other work goes just like super in one lane, and then work starts at the other lane, right? So how many vehicles can pass the traffic junction? And in this simulation, actually, it is 235 vehicles can pass the traffic junction when we add traffic lights. Great. But this is not how we want to work, right? We want to just like keep our work going, right? We want to just like work the agile way. We want to slot things in, right? When the design team has a slot, we just like slot it automatically in the next sprint. So it's more like a roundabout, right? So the roundabout, and you see there's also a lane where cars can go fast, right? And go in if something some work is really immediate, and we need to just like slot it into the sprint. Great. The roundabout has actually 360 cars per minute. But that's not the end, right? There's one more thing here where we can optimize things. And this is the stack interchange. And the stack interchange, you can see like the cars are just like flowing. They just like merge automatically. No cars need to stop. They just like merge automatically in the next lane. So assuming this work can flow through our pipelines and we can just like push our work forward, right? Actually, 1,099 cars. That's pretty much, that's a lot, right? But if we compare this to work, right, it means like we're building autonomous teams that can run autonomously without any other teams, just like the dependencies on other teams, right? And this means, but we need to highly align those teams. But what does autonomous teams mean? It means like we have all these kinds of roles in the team, right? We have a designer in the team, we have an ops person in the team, security, product managers, everyone is in the team, great, right? Now, we don't have enough designers at Atlassian to put every designer on one development team. Also, it doesn't make sense because there's not the sprint is not design work, right? So how do we do that then, right? How do we still get the flow into it if we don't have the designer and we just like need a designer in our team, right? Yeah, we shift left, of course, yeah. We replace everything with developers. So we just have developers, and they are now doing all the work, right? So in the good old days, right, we actually had this, that the developer teams were doing the automated test, and the quality assurance teams were doing the exploratory test, right? So we were throwing things over the wall. The Trello team actually had this problem that they were depending on the QA people to just like test their software. So now, yeah, you get it, right? Developers are doing also the exploratory test. And the QA people now, they can drink pina colada, go to an island, and relax. Great. They love it, right? Well, not so far. So we call it not quality assurance, we call it quality assistance. So these people are actually helping developers to write better tests, right? So this is what we do. So we just like doing feature test strategy. So we just like doing a kickoff with the developers once the user story is written from the product managers, and the developer and the QA person, the quality assistance person, sitting down and just like writing the test plan. Like, how would you test this when you implemented it, right? And then actually the developer takes that, develops things, test things on their own, maybe they do a demo and deploy it to production without any QA people involved anymore, right? So what are the QA people then doing, right? They can build their test automation platforms, the test databases, all those things. That's what they care about, that's what developers don't have to think about, right? So it lowers actually the cognitive load of the developers, right? By, at the same time, improving their developer joy. All right. So what is great progress? How do we measure it? Again, start with the DORA metrics if you want, right? Deployment frequency, lead time to change. But there are a lot of other metrics that you can use to measure the productivity of your flow. All right, so the last thing here I want to talk about is the value that we create, the value for the customer that we create. Of course, yeah, we have actually product managers for that. And they talk a lot with the customer, they do a lot of research, and then they come up with this product here that we as developers should build, right? So they give us the user story, and then we just like supposed to build it. But you know what? We often know better what the customer wants, right? They don't want that car. They want something cooler, right? Something better, right? Like an antenna that shows you just like that can just like expand and shows you in the parking lot where the car is. That's what Homer Simpson has invented. Isn't that great? So we know actually better, right? Who actually did that? Here. No one? I did it often, right? I thought just like I just add these things because I think it's actually better. So to put it that way here, right? The product people, they actually cares about just like they do a lot of research and measurements and interviews and experiments and prototypes. And then they squeeze it into this small little user story, and we need to understand what we should build out of it, right? But we need to just like work together on these things. Just like we need to be involved in all those things here, just in the experimentation phase, in the prototyping phase, in the interview phase. We need to just like know why actually we build these things for the customers. At the same time, also the product people need to be involved when we build the software, so they can give us early feedback and not just like at the end when we show it to them, but regularly seeing our progress of developing software. We as developers often concentrate very much on the make phase, right? This is how we call it at Atlassian, the make phase where we create the software, and the product people are more on the wonder phase, right? But this is not all, right? So we need to be involved in the wonder phase too, but also we need to be involved in the explore phase and also in the impact phase, when we measure the feedback from the customers so we know what we built was the right thing for the customer or was the wrong thing for the customers. So also this, right? This is a framework that we developed inside Atlassian to just like have for big feature work. We're just like applying this. And then we set milestones, right? So developers are not always involved 100% in these phases. They're mostly involved in the create phase, and the product people are probably more involved in the problem phase, and then at the end in the measure phase and just like saying what we should make better. But we are all involved somehow. So we defined actually certain stages in these phases, like in the wonder phase, it's the project kickoff. And we invite everyone to the project kickoff, the developers, the product people, the designers, the ops people, everyone, right? So everyone is in the same boat, what we want to create, right? Also, when we build prototypes, some prototypes are probably built in Figma, right, from the designers or the UX people. Other prototypes, we need to say like, okay, we need to try that out, right? So we are also involved in this prototype building, and then we move on to the next phase and say, okay, now we are, as developers, we're doing regularly demos to show actually what we have built, right? And involve everyone in those demos so everyone can give us feedback, right? And also in the impact phase, we involve everyone in there, just like getting the feedback, also from the ops people. So, but we were here mostly technical people, so I want to just like concentrate on the demo part, right? So we're not doing that much in-person demos anymore. We're mostly doing them over Zoom. So this means actually that everyone can join. I can join every demo. They are open, so everyone can join. But also designers, everyone that is involved with the project can join. Also, we concentrate on the outcome, not on the implementation details. If we show things as software developers, how far the software has been developed, we concentrate more on the customer outcome when we talk about things. And then it's a big group thinking exercise. So we challenge the solution, and maybe the product managers are coming in and saying, okay, sorry, we just like did the wrong thing. We take this and bring that back to the customers so that we don't have to rework everything at the end, but we can just like change things in the middle. Basically the agile way of working, right? And then we don't forget to celebrate because we're sitting all in one room and just like say, oh, great, we just got it out there, or just like we got great feedback from customers. It's awesome, it's great, so celebrate together. This is also important for bringing back the joy in our craft, right? So less rework frustration, more in developer joy. All right, let's talk about developer joy. I talked a lot, but I talked not a lot about measurements, right? But there's this famous quote from Peter Drucker, right? If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So measurements are important, that we measure our productivity somehow. And I started with the DORA metrics, but there's tons of other measurements out there, right? How much time do we spend keeping the lights on? Or how is our wait time, right? How much do we need to wait, right? This is also some measurements, but it depends on your team, right? What is important for your team? Teams are different, and teams work on different products. So the DORA metrics doesn't make sense maybe to all of the teams, right? So, as I said, just like take your measurements, and we use our own tool Compass for that. We just like sum up this measurements and build scorecards. And also we have our baselines in Compass where we just like say things turn red, we have to do something. Also we do our check ops directly here where we can just like discuss and take action points. But you can probably, there's so much software out there where you can do that. But it's important to talk about that. So. Measurements are great. They're showing us just the way, right? Well, let's see. So GitHub actually did an experiment. They call it the Good Day Project. So what they did is actually they asked developers at the end of the day, how productive was your day, right? So how good was it, right? How productive have you been? And then some days are better, some days are not so good, right? And then they try to correlate it with the data, right? So you see, they couldn't find any correlation with the data. So there is no correlation between how developers feel, how productive they are, and what the data is showing. So the data, yeah, poor little Octocat here. The data is just showing us signals. And some people just like concentrate so much on the measurements, but you know what? That's not working like that. It's a creative thing, right? And you can't measure everything, right? Software development is not a production line. Some people try to treat it like a production line, but we don't produce the same car over and over again. That's not what we do as software developers. There's always a new task every day, and we need to be creative and start putting creative solutions to the page, right? So, one thing here, another quote. Measure what's important, but don't make important what you can measure. So they're showing you signals, and maybe you want to compare it from other teams, but it's just showing you signals. You know what? Who knows actually what's really, how productive you are? It's your developers. They know that, how productive they are. So don't forget to ask your developers. And we are just like also doing that. We're calling it the Developer Joy Survey. So we're measuring our developer joy, and we're asking our developers, how satisfied are you with your speed to ship your code sustainably, right? Your good quality code. How satisfied are you with the waiting time? Just like waiting for builds to just like finish, waiting for code reviews, all those things. How satisfied are you with your execution independence, running autonomously, right? Or are you depending too much on other teams, right? Your access to tools, processes, practices, effort to manage external standards like security and governance. How satisfied are you with that? Managing your pipeline, the ramp-up time for new developers when they come in. Is that okay? Or should we do something about that? And how is your developer satisfaction overall? Right? And we're not just like asking developers like how satisfied are you, because as I said, every team is different and have different, so every team is different. And so we also ask, how important is that for your team? And out of that, we are calculating an opportunity score. And then we give that to the teams. So you can see, like, when you're in the white corridor here, everything is fine, it's okay. If you're going to go down here where satisfaction is low, it's going to be yellow. But then if importance is high and satisfaction is low, things turn red, right? So we have to do something about those things that are in the red areas. So actually, we're doing this internally. I've put it on a type form. If you want to try it out yourself, just like do it. I promise you, I don't collect any email addresses. I just like put the survey on a type form. Yes, and then I calculate the opportunity score at the end, right? So just like try it out. And then try to fix things, right? Carve out time to try to fix things. You saw these examples, what great teams are doing. They build Puni bots and flaky test detectors and so on, right? Maybe do a developer experience hackathon, or use 20% time. This didn't really work well with Atlassian, to be honest. We just like stopped with 20% time because it's always just like very individually, but we want to just like take time as a team. So we are actually doing developer joy weeks. We just like take a whole week off and work on developer joy and just like try to improve things in our pipelines, or just like do some, include it in your normal sprints, right? Just like carve out some if you measure in story points for developer joy. But it's not about just like trying things. It's also about sharing, spread the learnings. So if you as a team have improved, right, it's great. But the whole organization, the whole engineering organization can benefit from that. So for example, the Punit bot, right? The team was actually blogging about it, and that's a culture at Atlassian that we blog about everything. And they wrote this blog post about the Punit bot, right? And guess what? A lot of teams were just like reading the blog. It's all about just like how you use it, how it helped the team. And then now there are 20 teams at Atlassian that use the Punit bot. So sum this up here. Take your measurements and your survey results, right? Both are important, both showing you some signals, and give those to your autonomous teams to fix things. Like give them time to try to fix things. Fix the developer quality, the progress, and the developer value. And I always wanted to do a Venn diagram in a talk, and now here it is. Great, right? Because right in the middle there, guess what? That's where developer joy is happening. Just concentrate on your craft, right? We want to have fun at work, bring back developer joy, and I promise you, if you work on these things, right, your developer joy is coming back, plus your productivity will also increase at the same time, because we love to be productive at work, right? But don't just like be obsessed with that. Also, don't forget to have fun. We became developers or work in tech for a reason, because we think like this is a great job. We want to have fun here. So thank you very much.
All right. I had a lot of joy watching this.
All right,
thank
great.
you. Thank you so much. All right. So we have time for maybe one question.
Yeah.
Or two. So why don't we bring up Slido? There's some questions here. So the first one, let's say, if I have to do code reviews ASAP, then I can't focus on my actual work. This does not bring me joy. How can we overcome this? Where is the good balance?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, yeah, if you're just like, have a review ASAP, just like ask first, why is it ASAP? Second thing is just like, most of the time doesn't have to be ASAP, right? So this is just like more an exception, I would say. But this is great with the Punit bot, because it's the first thing that you get in the morning. You get just like, before you're actually into something, in your flow stage, you just like go and review code and start your morning with that. So yeah, sometimes we have to do things ASAP. That's probably not very joyful, but that's part of the job.
But yeah, if you build it into your routine, it can become joyful, right, over time.
And if you know that you just like building a code change, just like that is ASAP, just like do pair programming. That's a better way to do it. Then you don't need a code review and can merge it directly to the main branch.
Great. Maybe one more. What the tool that you use to create your slides? It looks dope.
All right. It's basically Apple Keynote, yeah. Nothing special. No.
It's an expert keynote here, right?
That's it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Sven. Are you going to be around?
I will be around the whole day.
So you can find him for more questions if you want. Thank you again. And we have something here from Craft. Let me just shuffle these things here. Let me just show it first to the audience. I don't know if the camera can zoom into that. You can compare side by side. There you go. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow.
You as well.
Huge eyes. Thank you.